Hey guys, it's kind of early in the morning and I've got some stuff going on, but I thought I'd try to pop on here real quick and at least do part of an update. So, we've got kind of a lot going on, or at least I do this morning. I love this time of year. I started some seeds, 2 weeks ago, and most of them have germinated, which is super exciting. I've got tomato seeds going on, and I've also got chives. I did have a big clump of chives for the last couple of years, and for some reason they just petered out. So I decided to start some new ones. I'm going to send some to my sister, I think, and I'll have some extras in case anybody else wants some. So that's one thing that's been going on, is just a touch of gardening. And I also, I'm going to actually pull this here from behind the computer. I also started forcing some branches. And this is my absolute favorite. This is forsythia. It's a beautiful yellow flower. It's like pretty much the first spring flowering thing around here, if I remember right. I actually took this bush from my parents' old house, the one that I grew up in, and I took a clump of it and moved it over here before they sold the house. So it's kind of got some sentimental value to me, and it hasn't, I thought it had died. Like, it hadn't produced flowers at all. And then just this last year, I saw it was coming. It was reviving. It was picking up. So I was so excited about that. And this year is the first year in, well, basically 5 years that I've been able to force forsythia again. So I'm really super excited about that. That's another spring thing that's kind of got me excited. And then I also went foraging for the first time. Alright, here are some things from our latest walk. Sometimes in the afternoons we go on walks, and I just gotta show you this here. Alright, so here's what I got. First off, I got, oh, you can't even see it, bummer, 3,500 steps for my Fitbit, my cheap off-brand Fitbit. We've got probably $1.50's worth of cans here that I picked up, that we recycle for 10 cents each. And then, this is my find of the day. These are, this comes from a tree called Kentucky coffee tree. And it's actually a pretty rare tree. So, feeling pretty privileged to have one of these nearby. What people used to do, what pioneers used to do, is they used to take these beans in here, roast them, and grind them like coffee. And I've done it once before, and I think it does smell like coffee. My husband would disagree, but I do think it smells like coffee, and I liked it, and I'm not a coffee drinker. So that's our haul. About $1.50's worth of recyclables. Some of these beans to roast and make into kind of an alternative coffee, and then of course exercise for the day. I got these are called Kentucky coffee tree beans, and the tree is actually, just a minute, I gotta go get my daughter. Alright, so this Kentucky coffee tree is actually kind of rare everywhere, I think. And the reason for that is because very few of the seeds actually germinate on their own. And people have theorized as to why that is. Some people think it's because the seeds were spread by ancient mastodons that are no longer around. But for whatever reason, it's kind of a rare tree. So I've decided this year to try to sprout some of these. In addition to, you can roast them, grind them, and then kind of use it as a substitute coffee. Some people think it doesn't really taste like coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, so to me it tastes like coffee without the nastiness of coffee. So I kind of like it, and the last time I did this was a couple years ago, so I'm going to roast these beans, and I may pick up more of the pods. There's a tree down the road here that kind of sheds pods every winter or fall. So I'm going to roast these, and I actually am going to try to grow some others that I've got planted already. Hopefully they germinate. We'll see. Alright, so I talked about spring stuff. I've got a new recipe I'm trying out. It's soaked baked oatmeal that I got from a friend yesterday, and we're going to see how that turns out. Soaking is supposed to be better if you're eating oatmeal. If you soak it, it neutralizes. See if I can remember what it neutralizes. It neutralizes phytates. I think that's how you say it. Bad stuff. It gets rid of bad stuff. So I'm trying this new recipe. I kind of botched it a little bit, but we'll see. It smells amazing. We'll see how it tastes. The other thing that I wanted to share with you guys, I got a Fitbit, except it's not a real Fitbit. It's like a cheap knockoff brand Fitbit, which is nice. My sister actually had one, and I was asking her about it. She said it's nice when you get the off-brand Fitbit because you don't necessarily have to connect with everyone else so you don't have to share. And I don't know if you can not share if you have a real Fitbit. But she doesn't feel like she has to share all of her health information with everyone else that has a Fitbit. So I've been using this for a couple weeks now, and it's really nice because it tells you like how much sleep you get and how much deep sleep and light sleep. It also tracks your heart rate, and it has a little graph and all this stuff you get on your phone. So there's an app that you download, and then you can see all that on your phone. But it has a little graph that shows your heart rate and how it goes up and down during the day. And then it's got it marked where the exercise heart rate is, and then just where your regular heart rate is. So it's kind of eye-opening to me. I mean, it's still kind of winter around here, so I haven't really got out to exercise much. And I pretty much get half the steps that are recommended and no worthwhile exercise. So I was kind of amused by that. The one thing I was surprised by, though, is I thought I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and I actually am getting a decent amount of sleep, so that's wonderful. And also my resting heart rate is good, too, so I was happy with that. But as far as the exercise, I'm going to try to do a little more of that, because you're supposed to get 10,000 steps, and in a regular day, I might get 4,000 steps. So if I take a walk, if I do like a good 1 to 3 mile walk, then I have no problem getting the steps in. But if I'm just puttering around the house and feeding my chickens and getting the mail, I might get 5,000 steps if I really try hard. So that's something that's been kind of fun for me, and I'm going to try as it warms up to get some more actual exercise in. And that's pretty easy because, you know, if I go for a walk every day, I'm picking up my cans that I like to recycle, I'm foraging, and I'm getting my exercise. So it's not going to be a hard thing, but in the winter, oh, it is hard in the winter for me to find something I enjoy doing, and that is also exercise. So that's another thing that's been going on. I also started doing piano lessons again, and usually people, when they do piano lessons, they start in the fall and then go around until summer, take summer off. And the way I do it, because my students are gone in the winter, I actually go like spring through fall, and then around Christmas time, then that's when we kind of cut it off. So I've started doing piano lessons again, and I'll show you guys. Oh, there's my oatmeal. This is the book that I use, and my students are mostly younger, So for like 10 and under, this is a really good book. And then I also do the duets. So I learn the duets and then I'll play with them, play with the students after they've got the song pretty much well down. So I've been doing that kind of for the last year. I really like it because it keeps me involved. It keeps me, that way, I mean, these are super easy songs anyways, but that way it keeps me knowing their songs inside and out as well. So I know their songs, I can do a duet with them, and it keeps them motivated because, you know, the teacher is doing something with them. So I really like that aspect of this book. The thing that I don't like about this book is they put... Here, let's show them the book, Princess. Let's see. They put numbers. You can see numbers on top of the notes. Those are supposed to be for fingering. But what the student ends up using them for is note names. So you get halfway through the book and the student doesn't know any of the note names because they've just been looking at those numbers on top of the notes for the fingering. So that's probably the only big problem with this book that I've had to deal with. And I'm going to try to do flashcards and see if that helps. But I wish that wasn't a problem. Other than that, I love this book and the system of teaching. I think I'll use it with her as long as I can figure out that note naming problem. So yeah, that's what we've been doing for my piano students. Alright, here we are 4 hours later. I just put our little girl down for a nap so I can talk again. I'm kind of going to backtrack a little bit because I found something else I want to show you guys. I have tried starting sweet potato slips probably for the last 2 or 3 years, and they never grow roots. But last year I finally just broke down and bought some slips at the nursery, and I grew those, and so I grew my own sweet potatoes. They turned out okay. I didn't water them enough, I didn't weed them enough, and some of them had like stringy bits on the inside, and I'm not sure how to prevent that. Anyways, that being said, some of them started to sprout on their own. They got these little eyes. That's an eye, I think. Yeah. And then they grew these little things. 2 of them did so far. And this one I put in water and it just continued to grow and grow. The other one I put in water and it had leaves, but it didn't grow any roots. So I'm thinking that's a goner. But the way you actually make the slips is you twist these things off and then you put them in a glass of water. This one was a really long one. And then they grow little roots at the bottom. I think you can see those there. Little buds that grow roots. So I'm pretty excited about that for my garden this year. Because I finally got it to work. That was my sweet potato thing. I feel like a little kid. Have you ever walked into a home where there's little children and they just zoom? They're like a magnet to you and they show you all the stuff they've been working on and tell you about this thing or that thing, and that's kind of how I feel. I feel like a little kid who hasn't had anyone to show their stuff to in a while. Anyways, okay, so I talked about gardening, I talked about piano lessons. I'm reading a couple different books now than I was last time. I finished up the biography that I was working on, and so the new audiobook that I'm listening to is called First Kill All the Marriage Counselors, and it's a relationship book for women, and so far it's pretty good. I haven't gotten I'm not sure how far into it I am, so I haven't finished it, but so far it's been really, really interesting and eye-opening. The author claims that marriage counseling doesn't really help a couple that's in trouble. And one of the main reasons for that is because a marriage counselor focuses you on your problems instead of encouraging you to look at the good part and the good side of your spouse. So instead of focusing on the good things, you're focusing on the bad things. And that's just one of the reasons that she claims counseling doesn't work, which is interesting. We've never had counseling, and we skipped even the premarital counseling because I don't know, I heard what my friends had to say about it, and also I talked to the pastor I was working for at the time, and he said, oh, I just give them a book to read. I was like, oh, well, we can read a book by ourselves. So I haven't had any experience with counseling, so I can't really say yay or nay either way. I'm just saying her point of view. But it's interesting, once you've read so many relationship books, some of the things start to overlap, and that's where you know, well, in any book, any kind of book you read, when they start to repeat themselves, that's where it's like, okay, that is something good, that's something generally true. And some of the things, like the thing she's talking about now is women actually are far more likely to file for divorce. So I think the percentage is like 2/3 of women file as opposed to men, and that's even higher with college educated women or couples, I'm not sure. But one of the reasons this author thinks why she thinks that is the case is because women aren't happy, and they're not happy because they don't make themselves happy. And whenever you try to depend on your spouse to make you happy, that's just not a good thing. You know what I mean? And so we need to find, and this isn't what she said, this is what I'm saying, we need to find our happiness and our identity in Christ. For me, because I'm a Christian. If you're not a Christian, I don't know what you'd find that in. But that's not something that can come from someone else, even your spouse. So that's her thing. And then also, I'm trying to think. There were a couple other things that overlapped with a different book that I read years ago. I found this at a thrift store. It's called Fascinating Womanhood, and it was written in the 60s. So it's old-fashioned, and I love old-fashioned things. If you're a feminist, don't read Fascinating Womanhood because it'll probably upset you. But if you're not, there is so much good to be gleaned from this book. And I think they have some newer, they have a newer sequel or something that's definitely not as good as the original. So if you're going to read it, read the original one. I'm going to pause this so I can find a spot that I want to read to. So here is a kind of old-fashioned advice that's so practical, but also so hard and not very popular in our modern culture. How to receive a gift. Knowing how to receive a gift from a man is an essential art of femininity. Not knowing is unforgivable. The correct way. The correct way to receive a gift is either with childlike exuberance or real deep appreciation, depending upon circumstances. The quality of the gift itself is not important. It is only the act itself, or the thoughtfulness in giving, that a woman needs to recognize and appreciate. Alright, so here's the unforgivable. A very real problem arises when a man gives a woman a gift she does not like. Because of this, she may make the mistake of returning it, exchanging it, not using it, or even criticizing it. These actions are unforgivable. And then she goes on to say, this can be overcome by appreciation of the act of giving rather than the material object. The gift is of no real importance. The man is. The object given will one day be dust, but your response will live on in his memory. Therefore, it is only his thoughtfulness that need be appreciated. Whatever it is, keep it. If it's unflattering, wear it. If it's unfragrant perfume, wear it. If it's not useful, use it. And all the time, remind yourself and him of how kind he was to give it to you. If it is too objectionable, he will complain and insist you stop wearing it. Then you can take it off. But as long as he likes it, wear it or use it. Other people's opinions are not important. And I thought it was kind of funny to read that, but so true, because I think a lot of women complain about their husbands not getting them gifts, but I mean, would you want to keep giving someone gifts if they complain about it and return it and don't use it? I know I wouldn't. So just super practical things like that, and the book kind of gives you a broader perspective on the husband-wife relationship, beyond how to get over little squabbles, even though your perspective really helps get beyond squabbles too. So I'm not going to go into more detail on that because I don't really want hater comments on my channel. If I do get them, I will delete them. I always delete hater comments. So I'm not gonna get into all that the book goes into, but if you're not a feminist and you are a homemaker and you want to stay married, then that book is a really good read, and also the one I mentioned that I'm listening to so far. I haven't finished the audiobook yet. This is my favorite sugarless afternoon sugar pick-me-up kind of thing. It's just hot cocoa without sugar. So what I do is I just take some cocoa powder. And this is called Ruby Red cocoa powder. My mom got it at a bulk store one time. I've personally never seen any. And then we've got some stevia or stevia. People pronounce it different. Oops. So I put like 13 drops of that in there, and then I put a splash of heavy whipping cream in. So now I'm going to take my special little Norpro little handheld mixer thing, and I mix everything up. It's kind of hard to do when you're trying to focus on the camera. So I do that, get it nice and mixed up. Then lastly, I'm going to put a little splash of that in there. Mix it again. And there I've got my sugar-free hot cocoa. Guess what? I made myself some tea. I've been trying to kind of work through some of my black and green teas. I really prefer herbal teas, so the black and green teas kind of stack up in there. So, but if you add cream and sugar or stevia, I wish I knew how to say that. Pretty much any kind of tea is going to taste good. So that's what I've been doing. Anyhow, the last thing I wanted to talk about was I had told you guys about a goal that I had to reduce cooking time to, like, I forget what I had said, a half hour or an hour a day. Basically the bare minimum, and I've been working on that a little bit. The double instant pots have really helped because I don't have to stop what I'm doing to wash a pan, you know, and then keep on doing what I was doing. So that's really helped. Having the lid, of course, has helped because I can just pop stuff in the fridge if I need to stop right away. And then I'm going to show you a couple clips about what I did with a bag of chicken thighs. My motto is cook one, cook all. So what I did was I just took my $5 or $6, whatever it is, bag of chicken thighs. I put the whole thing on this cookie sheet and I baked it for an hour at 350 with some seasoning on top. Turned out great. We ate 2 pieces for lunch. And now I'm going to pick off the meat and then use the bones to make some broth. I cooked a bunch of potatoes and carrots because we needed some for a meal. So I did like twice as many as I thought we'd eat. So this, I can actually use this for eating as is, for another side, or I could put it in soup, Or you can even mash it and have like mashed carrots and potatoes, which is actually really fun because it makes the potatoes look nice and cheesy, even though they're not. So the other thing I did today, besides cooking the chicken thighs, was I made some taco seasoning. And instead of just doing, this is the recipe, like this every time I need taco seasoning, I times it by 6. And so this is like a six batch recipe. So I only have to make this stuff every 6 weeks or so. This is about how much fat I get from a bag of chicken thighs. So what I'll do is I'll cook the bag of thighs and then I separate the meat and the bones and the fat. And the fat I'll use for cooking. I'm going to saute some onions and celery here. And the broth I'll use for soup and the meat I'll use for meals all in 1 week. And then also, I've been trying to just line things up in a way that it's more efficient to do everything at once. So like today, we had leftover soup that I took out of the freezer and I put it in an Instant Pot to cook. And then also, tonight we're having boiled egg sandwiches, but I made the bread yesterday for last night's meal. So that's one thing to where, like yesterday, I think the majority of our cooking was putting ingredients in the bread machine, and all the other stuff was just already prepared. So I'm trying to line things up. I think I'm making progress. I think I am. But I'd like to actually time how much I actually spend cooking in a day. So that was the last thing. After I finish this video, I'm going to try to pound out a couple hundred words on a book I'm working on. And yeah, I'm hoping to see you next week. I got sick last week, and so I just wasn't up to doing a video, but hopefully I will see you guys all again next week.